Okay, we're recording and now we're going to share the screen so that you can see my work table. Ta-da! There we go. Awesome. So what we are making for this, you might want to mute yourselves just in case, but please do continue to ask questions. At any point along the way, you can type them in, and Claire will let me know that somebody has asked a question because I don't seem to be able to multitask in that regard. And we'll answer those questions, and that is actually our favorite thing. So today we are making the velvet strawberry pincushion. We now have 3 different colorways. So these guys are this one, yeah, from the original colorway. There's one missing. It's the tomato one. I don't know where it is. It's in my house somewhere. And then we have the Rare Seed collection. So these are actually real colors of strawberries that exist. And we also have a pastel coloration that is really pastel pinks and pastel greens. And that colorway was designed by our good friend Rachel Miller, who has a beautiful work ethic and color sense. So this is the kit and the instructions that come with it. And these are examples of the instructions that you'll receive in the kit if you decide to order. So the first thing we want to go through is what tools you're going to need for this project. So I have a little Aliso handheld iron, and I got this from my friend Michelle Muska. So it's a really cool little travel iron, but it works perfectly for this project. We have spray starch. This you can get at the dollar store or the grocery store or at a hardware store. We have a water-filled spray bottle. This is a really great little spray bottle. We have Aleene's original formula, tacky glue, which is only used for very marginally. And I always keep it upside down in a cup. And we have the sand. The sand comes in the kit because you have to buy a 50-pound bag at the hardware store. So that's a lot of strawberries to make, like thousands. Anyway, it's included in the kit. It makes the kit extra heavy, but we do it anyway. It's the secret, one of the secrets. And then I have a regular cutting scissors, small scissors. I use size 10 milliners needles. And I use thread conditioner. I have threads that are matching to the process. I have a little bodkin. This will be used for just one step, and you'll see that any number of tools of this nature could work. I have a needle nose pliers, 2 types of stuffing sticks, one that has an extra pointy ends in it. So whichever, I use both off and on or back and forth. I also have some beading thread and then a surface where I can keep my needles and sequins and beads. And then I have some straight pins. Those are the tools that we're going to be needing. I'm going to get them out of the way for, I also have these little small applique pins that I really like to use for when I'm doing folding with ribbon work and other little tasks. And you'll see when we need to use those. Okay, so I'm going to get all this stuff out of the way for now so we can get started with step 1. And hopefully I can find my tools now that I've moved them all. Okay. All right, are you ready? Okay, let's check my iron first. Nice and hot. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is take your piece of velvet that is in the kit, and we're going to spray it with this water, the water-filled spray bottle.
Hello.
And then I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a press to dry the water a little bit. And then I'm going to place the interfacing glued side down and give that a little spray. And the reason why I need to do that is because it will cool down the fabric a little bit and the interfacing, so that I can get the interfacing adhered nicely without it melting on me. So sometimes this works better than other times, but I can see that this iron is really doing a nice job of it. So it's a good adherence, and that's the secret of spraying with the water. So we have this part done, and I don't need this iron now for a while, so I'm going to remove it. And I don't need my beautiful wool ironing pad anymore, so I've removed that too. For now, I think for now. Okay, the next step is to take your fused piece and trace the pattern onto it. So I have this cut out of just like a sturdy cardboard. In the kit, the pattern is made from cardstock, and if you're only going to use a couple of them, you can use that pattern. You cut it out precisely on the shape and then trace around. But one thing you want to do is take a look at the angle of the velvet. So you'll see that that way is a little bit shiny, and actually both ways are shiny, but this way is darker. So I wanted the darker part along the top upper edge. So that's how I've positioned it. And now I am just going to cut this piece out. You can save all those scraps because they're so nice. And actually, when I was preparing for this demo, I had one of the 8.5 by 11-inch pieces of velvet, and I was able to get 5 of these out of one piece. So I think that's pretty good. So the next step after that is just to fold this piece in half and align those edges and put pins along that seam, because this now gets sewn. So you can either sew it by hand or you can sew it on the sewing machine. But I've done that by using the sewing machine. So for some reason I got lucky and nothing slipped, but only on this one piece. They slipped on a bunch of the other ones. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this piece right side out. And I'm going to take my little tool and start pushing this down, pushing the point down. And just so that I don't go straight through the tip, I'm going to use more of the flat end of the stick, but I'll use this one later. So that's what the piece looks like when it's ready to be strawberry. But before we do anything else, we have to make a little hanger. So that is this part right here. It's made from embroidery floss. It's a 27-inch length of embroidery floss. You can use 2 pieces of embroidery floss. You can use 3. Essentially, we're making cording. You can use a 3.5 millimeter ribbon and a 2 millimeter ribbon. And it's just a cool technique. And maybe you know this. My mom taught me this. but I'm going to twist the floss, and
Oops, went there.
this takes a little bit of time. You want to twisting, twisting, twisting. I don't know if you can see it until it starts kinking up a lot. So that's not enough. Keep twisting, and we can still keep going. I find I need a little bit of moisture on my fingers to make this work. Okay, so that's good now. All right, so now what we do is we fold the piece of twisted floss in half, and I have my finger in the loop here, and I'm gonna let it go. And the floss twists up on itself, forming this cording. So now I'm going to remove from the tape. And
So
then,
she's got a video of it actually showing her hands and doing it.
oh, nice.
Oh,
Hi,
so it's
Cindy.
about-
Hi, Cindy. I heard ya.
Hi, and I just didn't. I'm actually in Virginia today.
Oh, good. So I tied a knot at the end. Then I'm going to take and fold that into a loop again. And I want to tie another knot 3.5 inches from the end of the loop. So that's right up there. So I'm going to grab it, tie the knot, and then put it back down so I can measure. And you just scooch the knot back a little bit. All right, now what I need to do is trim some of that off and get my needle and thread. So I have my milliner's needle. I have a knot at the end. The first thing I'm going to do is slip my needle into the seam allowance and then push through. That hides my knot because knots can really get in the way. And then I'm going to fold down about a scant 1/4 of an inch. And I want to just get a little bit of adherence going on here with the thread. Now we're going to attach. We're going to attach the loop. And this is going to, you have to do a little bit of work to get this to adhere well. So rather than take, I would need to really take about 3 or 4 more stitches, but let's just move on. And after the loop is really well, nicely secured, then you're going to take that needle and thread and run a gathering stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the curved edge, which is the only remaining edge left to the strawberry, and run a gathering stitch all the way around. So this prepares us for the next step, and we don't want to cut the thread. We're just gonna let the needle drop. Of course, these strawberries can be made in just about any fabric, can't they? They're awfully awesome in velvet. So there, now we have a little cup where we can start to fill with the sand and the wool rope. Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to tell you about the wool roving. This is the type of stuffing I use, and I prefer it by far over a polyfill. The wool roving has a tooth. When it packs in really great, and it just is a fantastic stuffing product. And when you combine it with sand, it makes for a really firm finish, and the strawberry or whatever you're stuffing feels substantial and like it has a lot of value. Anyway, so this is, I got this from Michael's and it's great. So now what we're gonna do is start filling the strawberry with the sand. We start with the sand. So I'm gonna take my little cup and just pour it in. You can make a paper funnel if you want, that works too. And then I'll take my stuffing tools. I really want to get down to the point down there. And this really is it's kind of a back and forth process where you stuff a little and then push a little and stuff, and it takes a pretty good amount of time actually. And you don't want to you don't want to shorten the time you take to do this or get bored with it or whatever. You just want to really take your time and get the stuffing in there. And I would say it probably takes me an easy 5-10 minutes. How much? Oh, I would say it takes an easy 5-10 minutes just to do the stuffing. And I filled the sand up to about there, up to about there. So this, and the reason why you put the sand in first is because it'll travel down to that point better than the wool roving will. So it's a good way to go. So I would just keep going and going and going with the stuffing this. And at some point along the way, when I feel it's really well stuffed, I'll start going gather stitching around the second time, catching in the top of the loop that is formed, or maybe it's not a loop, maybe it's a mountain or a roller coaster, the top of it, just the top. So I don't want to cross over any of my previous stitches. And what happens is this creates, it's like a soft sculpting technique. And every time you go around and around, and you pull the thread, it will cinch in the opening closed a little bit more. So that's another little secret to dealing with something super stuffed and how you get that opening closed. So here it is where I have done quite a bit more stuffing. And I've gone around one time catching in those upper loops of the roller coaster. And you can see it, you pull it and it will start holding a little bit more. And I would continue to stuff this and keep going with it. And I just switch back and forth because you never know which tool you're going to need at that particular moment. Just keep going and going and going. And then start cinching. And I'm still using the same needle and thread as before. And I'll go through and grab the tops of those roller coasters or mountains again and go all the way around. Don't cross your stitches, because if you do, don't cross the stitches that are below, because if you do, you will lock the thread and it will not be able to gather. Keep going, keep going. And you see how it closed it up a little bit more, and it stayed. There's a lot more stuffing to be done here. Like I would probably grab little bits, at least 3 more little bits like this, but maybe 5, maybe 10. And another good thing you want to do is, you see how that went in there? push it to the outer edge. And all of a sudden you have way more room. Keep going. And so on and so forth until it is just super firm. And so around and around and around, and eventually this will be dead center. So what we will end up with is the strawberry. A lot of times I will put the piece upside down on the work table like this and flatten it so that the top is really nicely shaped. So the next step to do is, uh-oh, darn it, I lost my needle. That means, you know what that means? It means I have to thread it, which is a big bummer. Big bummer. Okay, let me put this down here so I can look over some. Darn it. Maybe I'll have Claire get this for me. Or I'll just be sad. Let's just be sad. Okay. So the next thing is to start beating the strawberry all the way around. Let's see. Let's get the orange one out like that. So I'll use this little. Let's see. I also need my beads. Oh, look what I found. Oh, I'm so glad I already had that in mind. I'm using beading thread now. I'm going to get rid of this. So I will take this little tool and measure from the bottom up to the top where I want to begin putting the beads and sequins in place. And I'm going to use these little pins to mark it. So right about where the strawberry has its widest part, right at the curve there, that's where you'll start putting your first row of beads and sequins. And they're spaced about 3/8 of an inch apart all the way around. The second row is about a 1/2 of an inch down from the first row, and it's in between two previous beads. So I'll put my little ruler down, and so if my first row is at 2 1/4 inches from the point, my next row is going to be at 1 3/4 of an inch from the point. So I'll put a pin in place and measure that all the way around. And these little pins are so great to use for this little technique. And I have to thank my friends for teaching me that little trick, honestly. Okay, so I have to start over with some thread, and I'm going to travel from here down to a pin that's easy to reach. Once I get there, I can remove the pin. And then I'm going to take a little tiny back stitch, just so that I know that well, I'm going to take 2 because my OCD kicked in. So, so I have 2 little stitches, and we're going to bead this. So first you grab 1 sequin, and then you grab 1 bead. So these are size 11 seed beads and a 3mm sequin. Find what? Oh, then this measuring tool came from rockybeads.org. My friend Joyce gave this to me. Really, any little ruler is going to be fine. But beading stores have these, and see, they put their names on them. So it's like advertising tool. Okay, so I'm using beading thread for this process, not hand sewing thread. So After the sequin is on, you scooch it down to meet the fabric surface, then you stitch back through the sequin hole but around the seed bead, and you travel to the next little mark and remove the pin. And give that a little tug. Take a little stitch in place and repeat. So you grab a sequin, scooch it down to the surface. The sequin goes cupped up, but if I'm feeling lazy or frustrated, I'll sometimes go not think about it and not worry about it. For something like this, I probably always try to go cup up. But for the little calyx where the whole center is covered, I'm not as careful or don't care as much, or it doesn't matter. So straight down and to your next bee. So you can just scooch that out. Oh, am I on? Thank you. To my next spot, remove the pin and cinch, do a little back stitch. So we would continue to do that so that, come on off for me. Whee. I would continue to do this until I have 3 whole rows of sequins and then 2 rows of just beads. And for some reason, I decided to put one at the very, very tip this time, even though I never put it at any of the others. Boy, I should have, because it's cute down there. So here is our strawberry, and it is ready for the calyx. So that's pretty easy, huh? And that's my little trick, and it really makes a nice shape. All right, now we're going to make the calyx. So I think I need to get some of my mess out of the way. So that'll just take me a minute. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Fun. It's fun, huh?
Turned out beautiful.
Great.
Thank you. These are really easy and fun, and gosh, they're cheerful to have around. Like, oh, you just go see a bowl of strawberries and in the middle of winter, say, yes, I'll have one of those. Okay, now the next step is to take the 13mm ribbon, and we're going to form the calyx. The calyx is made from 14 folded petals using the pointed petal technique, and it's a 13mm ribbon, and we fold right on the ribbon itself. But this has already been spray starched. This little piece of ribbon. Whenever you work with a 13mm ribbon to do ribbon work type of things, which is different from ribbon embroidery, you want to spray starch the ribbon because it gives it body and it makes the finished product look better. So pretend that this was already, no, I don't need that anymore, Claire Bear. Pretend that, remember this is already spray starched, and I want you to know that you can use little tiny scraps to make this particular petal. Like for instance, this one right here. So don't throw these little things away. And as a matter of fact, in the kit, you'll have a variety of different greens. And I think you'll probably have enough to make 3 little petals additional from each ribbon. So that's enough to make a little flower. So you may as well use it. And you can add to it, but if you look at a strawberry, the calyxes are even numbered as far as I've been able to tell, and most of them have 14 petals. Don't quote me on that, because then I'll get in trouble because I've given you some misinformation. Okay. Take a little piece of ribbon, fold forward diagonally. Fold backwards diagonally. Adjust slightly and pinch the tip. And take one of these little pins and pin your fold. So from the back, it is identical to the front, except it's in opposite directions. The fold is in opposite direction. Ideally, what you want is this folded edge to line up with this selvage edge, and this folded edge to line up with that selvage edge. That is what makes for a better looking petal. So fold forward diagonally. So I have basically an equilateral triangle here. It's always geometry. I don't know if you knew that, but it's always geometry. Then fold to the back again. Check your angles. Give this a little pinch it, kind of like my grandmother used to do, but it was on the arm. Never mind, let's not talk about that. Okay, and then trim at an angle. So we're working directly on the ribbon. Here's a lot bigger piece. Fold forward, fold to the back. Pinch and pin. Let's do it again. Fold forward, fold to the back, pinch and pin, and then trim. So you're going to keep doing that until you have 14 little petals. Now what we need to do is join those petals together. So how do we start that? We're going to start by just working with 3 of them. This one just came apart on me. So I have my milliner's needle threaded. There's 2, I have double thread. It's been coated with a thread conditioner so that it makes it a little bit stronger and more manageable, actually, but there is no knot here. I'm going to start by taking this one petal, and I want to flip that back a little bit so I can take my needle and sew into that fold. I think I forgot to turn the light on here, Claire. I don't know if that helps. Now I'm going to take 3 little whip stitches in place. 1, 2, 3, and then give the thread a tug to make sure it's secure. The thread is secure, and then I can trim away those tails because those thread tails will be annoying. Now you want to sew across this petal with small gathering stitches, but you want to be able to catch in the selvage edge, which is right there. There's a little tiny ribbon selvage, which is from the folding. That's where it ends up. So I'm going to gather stitch across, catching in everything in the back, everything in the front, and making sure that I end at the end of the petal there, at the end of the ribbon there, and there. That is the secret to being able to control every single one of these little petals. So I'm going to flip it back. I want to see where it is. And I have to catch here. And on the back side, I actually have to catch in there as well. because my fold wasn't perfect. And you see how I made that extra little stitch so that I could grab the end right there. And the needle goes away. So this is called chain gather stitching. So I'm going to fold it back. I want to see where I'm at, and then grab the very end, grab the end that's underneath, gather stitch. These are little stitches, and I grabbed at the very tip there again and remove that. So we would continue to do that until all 14 folded petals were chain gather stitched together. So the next step So this is, I have them all chain gather stitched. They're all going in cattywampus directions and whatnot. So the first thing I'm going to do is gather this down. Now what we have to do is arrange all the petals so that they are all going in the same direction. Okay, so now that they're all going in the same direction, now I want to secure my gathering thread at this end. So I'm going to measure 1 3/4 of an inch. I'll go up to this line. So 1 3/4 of an inch is right there. So I'm gonna just let that go a little bit. Hold it. And then take 2 or 3 whip stitches in place at the end here. Now I can adjust the gathers a little tiny bit. Yeah, it's good. And then the seam allowance really needs to be trimmed. So you want to be careful about this, but I'm going to trim down to about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance remaining. And that's just so that you have a little bit more control. So now, this is the side that we stitched from is what I would consider the right side of all of the flower, all of the petals. So we're going to join, we're going to fold this piece in half so that we can join the last petal to the first petal, right sides facing. So I'm just going to go at the seam allowance, at this, not the seam allowance, the seam line, and take a couple of stitches in place. And mine is in orange thread so that it's easier for you to see, but I would do this in a more matching thread. It doesn't even have to be an exact color, but would go with something green instead of orange, definitely. Also, if you don't like using double thread, you can use single thread. But do keep in mind that there's a lot of yanking and pulling going on, so you don't want your thread to break. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is adjust all the petals so that they are even. And this is the next most important thing to do. Adjust those petals. And in your kit, you will have a little piece of non-woven interfacing. And I like to use this interfacing to build the flowers onto because it makes them portable, makes them easy to be dealt with. It makes their finish be better. It's just, it makes it easier to make them. So I'm going to take the needle and thread. My thread is on the underside, or what I would consider the wrong side of the flower. And I'm going to stitch into the interfacing. And once I'm there, I'm going to start rearranging the petals again. So I'm going to put a pin and then adjust, 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 put a little pin and keep adjusting all the way around, all the way around. And you may have to readjust several times. So don't feel like just because you have your pins in place that you can't do more readjusting. And then from this point on, I'm going to start kind of back stitching the petal or the flower to the interfacing all the way around, so that on the back side you will eventually see a circle. Okay, so this is the flower where it's almost all the way in place. And I have a little bit more sewing to do, which I think is right here. I'm going to continue to sew that around. And then it's going to be time to bead the center of the calyx with the sequins and beads. So I feel I can remove all of those guys. And just make sure you have the whole thing adhered before you move on. And I have something funny going on the backside because because sometimes it's hard to really see what I'm doing when I'm teaching these classes, which is awesome. It's just my favorite thing. So adjust, adjust, adjust. Yeah, and you can just keep adjusting as needed. And now what I'm going to start doing is beading the center. So, and I usually like to use beading thread for that, but my beading needle came apart, so. Okay. Who said that? Laura Lee. Oh, are you leaving? Oh. Oh, you are very welcome. Super happy to do this. Before, let's see, it was 9:44. Okay, we're good. So on the back side, I'm just going to secure the thread and remove it. And luckily, I do have this piece of thread beaded. It's not beading thread, but it will work. And just like we beaded the technique used to bead the strawberry, I'm going to use the same technique to bead the center of the calyx. So it will be super bright and cherry or sparkly or something like that. And we're just going to go around your stitch line all the way around. And this takes a while. This will easily take you 10 minutes, but maybe 15. And for those of you who are obsessive, it'll take a half hour to an hour. So you know who you are. So I will do that all the way around until it's all entirely beaded. And I want you to notice that my beading positioning is not perfect, and it works. And you know, you can mound the beads in sequence and get it just all super intense if you want. Whatever you like to do is fine. Anyway, aren't those colors so great? Love them. Now, you'll notice that I have trimmed away some of the interfacing. And this is what makes these flowers portable. So I'm going to finish trimming away the rest of the interfacing. So now you have a whole little entity, and it is completely self-contained, and it can travel anywhere it wants. And all of its seam allowances are under control, and it's not going to ever embarrass you. So now, how do we get this on here? Now we're going to need our trusty glue, and our trusty bodkin. And I think you're going to be pretty darn surprised what comes next. Take your bodkin and thread the loop of the hanger through the bodkin. Try to keep the loop straight, not twisted. Now, next, thread the bodkin through the center of the flower. And if necessary, take your little open. Wow, what happened here? Take your little needle nose and pull it through. Then you can remove the bodkin. And now we're going to just move the calyx up a little bit so that we can put glue onto the top of the strawberry. So we don't want to, we want to try to not get glue on stuff. So you notice I put glue down so that I could reposition the strawberry. And I'm just going to slide that all the way down. And now you need to let it adhere, which will take a little bit of time so that it dries completely. But you'll see there's no seepage anywhere from the glue. And this tacky glue is such an awesome glue to use with fabric. And it's just going to dry. That is how you make one strawberry. That's super awesome.
Beautiful.
There, that was easy, huh? You gotta admit, right? And fun. Oh, I was going to say, I just wanted to mention, should we start recording now? Okay, let's do that. Okay. All right, I wanted to, did you? Oh, oh, well, it'll say, record as stop. So we want to do flower therapy for our next class. So I think most of you are familiar with flower therapy. It's a group of ribbon work and ribbon embroidery techniques that come in 10 different colorways, and they come in several options. You can get a needle book kit if you want to do something that, if you want to do flower therapy or something that becomes a finished product. Or you can get something that's called an ultimate kit, which has an easel kit included. Or you can get just a complete kit, so you can learn the techniques. The complete kit does still come with a piece of foam core board so that you can use the foam core as a surface to create compositions. And then there are refill kits. So we've tried to cover all the bases in that regard. And of course, the kits can be mix and match if you want. The thing that's great about flower therapy is that everything is removable if you're making something on the easel or on the complete kit. So they're just pinned in place. So for the first, see, and then they go right back in. Boop. And these are those little applique pins that we just used. So the kits come with all the beads and sequins, which is awesome. And you're going to have leftover ribbons. So with the leftover ribbon, I teach you what to make with those so that you have absolutely nothing left over, which is the coolest part of it. So anyway, that's going to be our next class. It'll have to be 2 classes. So it'll be for June and July. And I think it's probably going to be either the second or third week of June, because I can't. So keep that in mind. We'll send out a newsletter to let you know about it. And I was going to say, oh, the first class will be on doing the ribbon work techniques, which is the pointed petal, the coin ruched, and the mountain folded technique. So here's pointed petal, coin ruched, mountain fold, pointed petal, coin ruched, mountain fold. I have an alternative for the mountain fold for those who, because sometimes it's tricky to make. And this little element is made from leftovers. This is made from leftovers. This is made from leftovers. So as is this. So just use it all up. So that's our next class. I hope you think that's a good idea. And ta-da, we did it in under an hour. Now come back and say hi and unmute yourself. Any questions?
This was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad you were here.
It is.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, good. Good. What
This
do you
was
think?
so much fun. Thank you.
Oh, hey, Nancy. Hi.
Hi there. I loved it.
Oh,
It got me
thank
all
you.
excited to, I have a kid and I got to start making these.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. They're easy to do. Hi, Rachel. I
talking
saw
first.
you.
Oh, you heard me. Yeah. This is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us.
Mary Jo, you're an excellent instructor.
Oh, thank you, Bonnie.
You may quote me.
You know what it is the step outs. The step outs are the step outs are the key. So, and in the process of making the step outs, I remember how to make them myself. Yeah, but anyway, these would make nice gifts. I've been working on, oh, we can't see it. I've been working on, this is a clover. I wanted to make it in Matlas. I just was curious because my friend Rachel had made one in Matlas. And so I thought, I'm going to do that. If she can do that, I can do that. So this is what I finished recently. And I'm also working on some little butterfly wings. We'll see how that goes. I hope I can get them done. And we have all kinds of stuff up our sleeve for classes coming up, including Claire's little first design, which is a snowman.
What?
Yeah.
Snowman.
It's a little tiny, adorable little snowman, and he's got a little Lego hat.
Thank you much, Mary Jo.
Thank you, everyone. Let's see. Terry
Thank
says,
you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sarah. Thank you, Jan.
Thank
I really appreciate all of you being here and supporting us. And do you like the idea of flower therapy next?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely. I want to do it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right, so keep an
Can
eye
Can I see that butterfly again?
out. Yeah, sure.
I missed it.
Oh, I mean,
Ooh, that's
sure this way?
beautiful.
oh, you can see it. Okay. Yeah. Boom, boom.
I love it.
Yeah. This is in honor of my mom, as she recently passed away, 98 and a half years old, and had all her marbles, every single last one of them.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. My mom just passed away last month at 92 and a half and was in
Oh.
great health until last week, but now I know she's in heaven.
Yep, my mom too. Her last day especially was pretty brutal, but she's in a good place now. Anyway, okay, we're gonna say goodbye and thank you and see you next time. Be on the lookout for our newsletter for our next announcements and
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks,
Thank you,
Claire Bear.
everyone.
Loved it.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
You.
Love you too.